Hi, this is tutorial number 2 for the mobile racing game template. In this video, I'll show you how you can customize the player car and create new prefabs with different vehicle models. We're going to be using Fantastic Race Car 13 from T-Bull. The reason I'm using this model is because it has separated materials for the rims, the car body, the windows. The only thing that it doesn't have is brake light emission, so you may need to edit it a little bit if you want to use brake and reverse emission. But we're going to make do with what we have, and let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'll do is select the player car prefab and open it, and I'll switch over to the scene view so I can see what's going on. So I do not recommend changing anything on this car prefab. What we're going to do is replace the car body and the wheels. So the way that we should do that is actually select this car prefab and press Ctrl D to duplicate it. Now we have a new unique prefab, and any changes we make on it, even if we break it, we can still go back to our original car prefab. That way we can reference all of the original settings. So now that we have a new player car prefab, let me go ahead and open it. And the first thing I'm going to want to do is replace these vehicle models. So let's expand the RES folder, which is where the T-Bull car is located, and select the prefab. I'll drag and drop that in here. It does seem like it's a little lower on the Y-axis, so I'm going to raise it up, and then I'll move it over just so the body is mostly centered. Before I move on any further, I'm just going to make a quick reference to the car body, and here we can see that we have a customization body material and a customization window material. These scripts have a material index, so this is used by the customization system. The material index is the material index for the mesh. The car body material was using slot 0, and the car window material was using slot 2. On our new car prefab, there is only one material, so we don't need to make any additional material index changes to those scripts. But what we do need to do is add those scripts to these objects. So I'll select the body, and in the search field I'll type in customization, and as I start typing it in, I can see the script that I'm looking for, which is customization body material. I'll go ahead and add that, and I'll do the same thing for the customization window material, and finally I'll do the same thing for the wheels. I'll shift select them and select the customization rim material. So at this point, now that I have the body replaced, I'll go ahead and I'll select the default body parts and I'll just delete them. Next, I'll go up to the player car parent, and from here I will select the car controller, and I'll expand the wheels array. I can see that I'm missing the mesh transforms. Those are the wheels that were just deleted. So I'll select wheel R for front right, wheel L for front left, wheel back R for back right, wheel back L for back left. Now I could scroll down a little bit more and select align wheel colliders. And for the most part, those wheel colliders were pushed into place. Let's go ahead and switch to orthographic mode by clicking on the little axis representation. I'll zoom in a little bit. Let's actually flip around this axis. I can get a good view. All right, and what we want to do here, let me go ahead and collapse this collider so I can see the wheels a little bit better. We want to make sure that these wheel colliders are matching the position of the wheels. So to do that, we could select all 4 colliders. Let's just move them up a little bit. And let's increase the radius a little bit. Let's try 37. That actually looks perfect. So I'll flip around on the Z-axis, and I'll press F. Rotate a little bit. I can see that the wheel colliders are kind of offset a little bit. So what I'll do here is I'll select the front right and back right, and then I'll adjust the X-axis position so that they match. Now I could grab the handle and move them into a better position. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, so now my 4 wheels are centered on the mesh. So now that the car body and materials and wheels are all set up, let's go back to the root. And here we can take a look at the car light script. These are some actual physical lights that will turn on and off if the car light script is enabled. So we have brake lights and reverse lights. And then we also have a car brake reverse emission script. We can see that the meshes are missing. Because this model doesn't have any emissive materials, I'm just going to delete it. But if you set up some emissive brake and reverse materials, you can assign them here. Since we don't have any, I'm going to make sure the regular car light script is enabled. And I'm going to select the brake and reverse light objects and just turn them on. And then I'll make sure to move them so they're outside of the car body mesh. Now these lights will become illuminated whenever the car is in brake or reverse. At this point, the car is primarily configured. The only things that we can still adjust is the avatar driver and the dashboard canvas objects. So we can push the avatar driver into his seat, and we could put the car's steering wheel into his hands. And for the dashboard canvas, we could move this a little closer. Now you may want to adjust the textures on this canvas so they look a little bit better or match a style that you're going for. So we've taken a quick look at the dashboard canvas. Again, you just want to position those wherever you like. Next, we also have the left, rear, and right side view mirrors. For these objects, you can move them into position. They do all have a camera attached to them. You can put the camera where you want. These cameras, for example, are just set up to show you a specific view. And in this case, the easiest way to move these is to unpack these prefabs. And then we'll take the cameras and just move them up a little bit so they're not a child anymore. Now we can move the left and right and rear view mirrors without adjusting the camera positions, which may or may not be desired. That's up to you. And these rear view mirror objects, they have a shader that's using a texture mask. So you can add new texture masks to define the shape and adjust those as needed. The last thing we'll want to do is adjust the avatar position. So let's go ahead and focus on the avatar. We can see that he's not really sitting back in the seat. So let's go ahead and expand him a little bit, find the race driver object, and then I'll hold Shift and click all the way down to the final IK hand target. And I'll move all of these objects as a group. Then I'm just going to make sure that he's centered in the seat. That looks like it's almost good enough. And the final thing that I will do is click on this prefab for the new car model. I'll right click it and select Unpack Prefab. And then I'll take all of these model objects and I'll just move them outside of that prefab parent. So I'll delete these two empty objects now. And that does leave me with a steering wheel that I can now move. So I'll take this steering wheel and I'll drag it and drop it to be a child of the included steering wheel. So this steering wheel on this car model, unfortunately, does not have a good pivot. You can fix that if you like, but the method I'm showing you will actually fix the pivot issue without requiring creating a new pivot. So what I want to do is, if I select this steering wheel, this rotates on the Z-axis. So we just want to make sure that the new steering wheel is aligned with the old one. That way it doesn't have a weird wobble when we rotate it. So to do that, I'll just switch over to the rotate tool. And I'll adjust the rotation a little bit. Switch back over to the move tool. Move it up a little bit to match. Press F to focus on it. Go ahead and switch back over to rotate. And I'm just going to switch between move and rotate with the W and E keys. I'll move it down a little bit. Rotate it a little bit more. Pull it out a little bit. Rotate it a little bit more. And this mostly looks correct. Let me center it a little bit better. All right, so now if I rotate the steering wheel, the new wheel should rotate and for the most part look better. Okay, cool. So I am just going to take this steering wheel object now and make it a child of the actual steering wheel parent. And I'll disable the default steering wheel. From here, I could back out of Player Car 1 to save the changes. And we could collapse the RES folder and the models folder. We'll switch over to the data folder and select player cars. And then I'll replace the player car with Player Car 1, which is our new prefab. And now I can go into the scenes folder and load the main menu, and I'll press play and we'll give it a test. All right, I'll create a profile name and I'll switch over to the garage scene. We can see our car here is here and it's all white. So we can see that the customization material system is starting to work. If we switch over, now we can see that we have 2 different cars in our garage. I'll go ahead and customize this car. Let's select the body paint. We'll make it yellow. Give it a neon light, maybe red. Change the rim color, make them dark. And the window tint, let's make that blue. And now we've customized the new vehicle that we just set up. Go ahead and select it, and we'll load it into the open world. All right, we can see that our car is working. Let's go ahead and switch views. Oh, we did miss a step. We can see that the avatar is still kind of sitting scrunched up next to the steering wheel. So let's go ahead and go back into this player car. And the step that I missed was making sure that the avatar position is set to use his actual current position. I'll just copy and paste those values in there. And we'll back out. And now we can see we have a better interior view. The driver is actually in his seat. We can see the pivot is a little off, so you can play with the positioning a little bit more. Aside from that, everything's all configured and you're basically ready to go. And for customizing AI cars, it's basically the same process. Thanks for checking this out. In the next video, I'll show you how you can set up new races.